I already love this.
Get ready!
Okay, so before I explain that nonsense, I want to list my top 5 favorite games released in 2017. I was going to make a video, but I'm lazy, so I didn't. Number 5, Emily is Away 2. Number 4, Senran Kagura Peach Beach Splash. Don't judge me, it's a lot of fun. Number 3, Horizon Zero Dawn. Number 2, Cuphead. And number 1, Shin Megami Tensei Persona 5. Which, I mean, is obvious. It's a good game. Now, back to the review. Okay, so you know that thing at the beginning of the video? Well, that was the intro to one of the biggest sleeper hits on the PlayStation 2, along with one of the most unique games I've ever played, Katamari Damacy. I really think that's how you pronounce it, so I'm going to call it that. Developed and published by Namco, yes, the same people that made Pac-Man, and released in 2004, this game was an experiment of sorts made by 10 people for less than roughly $1 million, which, you know, even back then probably was not much to make a game on. When it was released in the West, it was overlooked because, well, I mean, you saw why. First, I just want to say I absolutely love this cover art. It looks so peaceful until you see the giant ball of random objects like a baseball stadium and a Ferris wheel and that crazy title in Japanese. Also, these cows are pretty cute. That's important. The game opens with that crazy intro from earlier and the start of a new game. The story is actually pretty simple and straightforward, as crazy as it is. Carpet Head here is the king of all cosmos, which, I mean, basically that means he's a god. Yes, this guy that looks like Freddie Mercury, David Bowie, and an Easter Island head did the fusion dance and put on a kaleidoscope-themed ice show is the king of everything. Also, he talks like this. One day he gets drunk and destroys all the stars in the sky, as you do, and since he's too lazy to fix it himself, he sends his son, the Prince of all Cosmos, to Earth to roll around random objects with this thing called a Katamari. Playing as the Prince of all Cosmos, the goal of the game is to go through 22 different levels and accomplish a handful of different goals using this weird bumpy ball to roll up everything in sight. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It's a pretty straightforward game. Actually, it feels really similar to Namco's classic arcade games like Pac-Man or Dig Dug, focusing more on simplicity and gameplay over a complex story or controls. It's still there, and there are short cutscenes after each stage, but it's not really something you have to worry about when playing. The king got drunk. Go fix the sky. Here's a ball. Go. And how do we do that? By rolling around a ball. There are 3 different kinds of stages, but the main aspect of the gameplay is just to gather as many objects with your Katamari before the time runs out. Just go over to Earth, pick a stage, get plopped in an area, and start rolling around to collect objects and make your Katamari bigger. The prince, and in turn the ball, is controlled using only the analog sticks of the DualShock controller. Oh my gosh. And no other buttons. Tilt them both in the same direction to roll that way, opposite directions to turn the prince, and tap both of them to jump to the other side. Each level has you making a star of a certain size within a time limit. You can roll up any object smaller than the current size, and it attaches to the ball, making it bigger. The more objects collected, the bigger the Katamari, and the bigger objects you can roll up. I start out each stage gathering things like cherries or dice, but before long, I was rolling up mahjong tiles, cookies, sunflowers, cats, even people and trees are no match for this sticky ball rolled around by someone who is only 5 centimeters tall, which to everyone in the US, that's like less than 2 inches. This Katamari is the most overpowered thing I have ever seen. You can roll up anything you're bigger than, so gathering enough items makes you basically unstoppable. I can see why all these people are running in fear when they see my massive potential star. I'd be running too. but I'm the one doing the rolling. So instead, I can roll up everything. Oh, I'm stuck. Okay, just give me a minute. Okay, we're back on track. I'll be taking those trees now. Okay, so it is possible to be stopped by larger objects if you crash into them, or get into like a narrow alleyway that's just a little bit too narrow, which can be kind of annoying when I'm trying to get somewhere and crash into a wall or a step or an entire street I think I can pass, because if you hit one hard enough, you actually lose a few objects, but it's not really a big deal. Sometimes it's just kind of hard to tell, but that might just be me. This game and its sequels have been described as puzzle or action platformer by Wikipedia, but come on, that's not a very reliable source of information. This gameplay is unlike any other game I have, and probably you have, ever played. It's so unique and bizarre, Namco actually have it patented. Paddington. Panda bears. Here's some bears. Check out this bear.
Ah, there was string attached to the shoe!
He makes cool music. Speaking of cool music, this soundtrack is incredible. It suits the bizarre and eclectic feel of the game by having songs from several different genres, ranging from J-pop to jazz and even samba. There's even a song in English, which is kind of weird, but whatever. Each one just sounds so good and happy and upbeat, and are just so much fun to play this simple, absorbing game to. Some of my personal favorites include the main theme played during the intro, first and last stages, and the song playing while making the 4th star. I don't know what it's called, but I remember it in that stage, so I'm just calling it that song while making the 4th star. I'm just gonna call it that. It's so ridiculously happy and upbeat like the rest of the game. In fact, I would go so far as to say the soundtrack alone is reason enough to check out this game. Plus, the prince always looks like he's dancing. I know he's just rolling the Katamari, but it's adorable. I mean, just look at him. Even just playing it once, the soundtrack is probably now one of my favorites on the PlayStation 2. It just fits the game so well by not fitting anything conventional. It also fits the graphics, which are, oh my gosh, oh, I love them. Everything has flat colors and simple designs, making the whole game look super colorful and kind of surreal. I love it. I love it so much. I wouldn't call it cel shading, but it's kind of similar. I wish more games use this style because, to me at least, it doesn't look like it's aged in 14 years. Just look at it. It's so charming and pretty. It's also probably better to not have realistic objects in this game for performance as well as style. Could you imagine how choppy this game would be if the objects rolled up were more detailed or had realistic textures? It would be chaos. Well, I mean, clearly it's already chaos, but you get the idea. The visuals are how they are to make everything silly and surreal, and they work perfectly with the gameplay and soundtrack. But the absolute pinnacle of what the heck am I looking at least for me, has to be the cutscenes. While the plot of the game is about making stars, there's a cutscene after each level showing a family traveling to see off their astronaut dad for his launch on a shuttle.
They're larger than I expected, these space rockets, and so nice.
Now I want to be an astronaut too.
Oh, I'm sure your father would be pleased. Speaking of your father, where can he be?
Okay. These are pretty short and play whenever you make a new star or constellation. And I don't really have anything to say about them. They're just another weird part of this incredibly weird game. Anyway, after making all the stars and all the constellations, I reached the last 2 main levels. The second to last actually has a pretty cool challenge where it doesn't tell you how big the Katamari is. So I have to estimate when it's 10 meters. And the closer I get, the better North Star I make. Yes, I actually make the North Star. And all the other stars in the sky, so you can thank me for that. I wasn't right, but I mean, it was a cool challenge. The final level is about making a new moon at 300 meters! What? None of the other levels go up to even 30. This task is so huge that there's a 25-minute timer on the last level, which means there's more than enough time to enjoy arguably the best level in the whole game. It's the same thing as the rest, but the Katamari gets so big, you can roll up entire buildings, islands, and these 2 Lucha Libre wrestling monsters. Is it too late to say you really shouldn't question this game? After I made a moon over twice the size needed, the king sends it into the sky, and the game ends. And if you somehow still underestimate the power of the Katamari, the prince rolls up entire countries during the credits. You monster. You adorable, adorable monster. That's not the end of it though. After beating the game, you can go back to each level to improve your scores and unlock Eternal Mode by reaching the goal in a shorter time. Eternal Mode is just the same stage with no time limit, allowing you to roll around as long as you like. Oops. There are also some neat little collectibles to find in all the stages, like little presents that you can use to dress up the prince. I could only find a blue scarf and a crown, but it's adorable, and I wish I could have found more. You can even find some of the prince's cousins to use in multiplayer. Yes, this game has multiplayer, and it's actually kind of fun. You and a second player can choose from many different cousins of the prince, each with different designs, and are placed in a small arena to roll a Katamari. The one who makes the larger Katamari by the end wins. And that's it, really. Some of the controls change in this mode, like the shoulder buttons locking onto the opponent instead of altering the camera, and the charge and roll move turning into a powered rolling attack, but it's pretty much just a scaled down single player level with split screen. One of the best features is being able to roll up your opponent, which, I mean, that's pretty funny. That's Katamari Damacy, one of the weirdest games I have ever played, and already one of my favorites on my favorite console. If you find this game somewhere and have the means to play it, pick it up, definitely. Even if everything seen in this video is just a bit too weird for you, which, I mean, I don't blame you, I still highly recommend looking up the soundtrack at least, because as I said earlier, it is glorious. And it is just so happy. I'm really happy to finally have this game in my collection, and now I have a reason to check out the sequels, which I am greatly looking forward to. Well, except the one exclusive to the 360, which is probably the strangest part of all of this. Well, that's all I have to say this time. Thanks so much for watching. Whoever you are, I hope you have a nice day, and I'll see you next time.